All right, now that we have talked about rate, volume, and pitch, there are two other vocalics, articulation and pronunciation. The articulation is how the words come out of your mouth, how your mouth is forming words. And so, thinking about, you know, how your mouth moves to create those symbols, and then how those come out in ways to be understandable. Um, I often lately have been thinking about like how we use the word articulation not just to mean the words coming out, but then like to articulate a point. So like how it means both, right? That like how the words are formed and understood, and then how those words form in a way to be clear to other people. Um, so if you've got issues with like mumbling or slurring your words together, there's a trick called the pen trick. So get a pen, wipe it down if you need to, and you would put it in your mouth, um, sideways like this, and you'll notice it's a lot harder to talk because there's a pen in your mouth. So you try talking and you might sound really mumbly and weird, but you'll notice that if you start to really work around the pen and really move your lips, you will actually be able to be understood even with the pen in your mouth. And so I would do this, you can say the Pledge of Allegiance, or you can just talk to a roommate for a little bit. But do this until you start to feel it, until your mouth and jaw starts to get just a tiny bit sore, so that you can feel the work that your mouth is doing. And then the trick is don't take the pen out once you stop talking. Keep talking and take the pen out while you are still talking so you can feel the difference. You'll feel how your mouth wants to still move around the pen, even though it's not there. And so, I mean, the pen is such a great teacher in terms of um, how to form words. When I talk about tone, I reference gender and how, women are socialized um, in that rising tone, or they're often policed for that rising tone. Men often have lower tone, but they often then mumble or run their words together. So this can be really good if you've ever been told, like, you mumble or I can't understand what you're saying. So this can be a really nice little exercise. Um, Pronunciation then is when you combine articulation and culture. So thinking about how different groups and different regions pronounce um, certain words. So, right, if I have a backpack or a purse or a reusable grocery receptacle, all of those are called BAG. So you say the word, and I don't know how you say it, but I say bag. And I've literally had people not understand what I'm talking about because of my thick Wisconsin accent. Um, bag, bag is what I say. But I have friends who are from different regions and they say bag, bag. I have a hard time doing it. um, if any of you are watching Ted Lasso, there is a great little interchange in one of the episodes where Rebecca, who is from Britain, and Ted, who is from Kansas, um, do that word back and forth. He says bag and she goes bag. So, there's lots of words like this: pillow, pillow, milk, milk, um, roof, roof. Like thinking about how different sounds come out and then how we code those in terms of pronunciation. So one of the things that I I find frustrating, but I also think is interesting, is that people, especially people who are from a country or culture or speak a different language than English as their first language, they're often really worried about their accent. And one of the reasons I think people get really nervous or worried about their accent is that culturally we expect everyone to sort of talk a certain way or to quote sound normal, which I think is a bunch of baloney. um, as long as you're being understood, right? Like you don't need to stress out or worry about your accent. Your accent becomes part of how you form words. And of course, the culture that you are from or live in, right? And so the thing to remember is all of us have a dialect. So even those of us that don't think that we have, quote, an accent, all of us speak in a certain way. Like my sister and I, who grew up in the same house, same region, if you put us next to each other and I talked and she talked, we would sound different because we each have our own individual dialect. So one, if you're thinking, well, I don't have an accent, it's like, well, you've got an accent to somebody. And you have a personal dialect, right? You have a specific way you talk. So all of us need to be aware of that specific way we talk when we're communicating, and especially public speaking. um, but then I think we also need to do our part culturally to accept people who pronounce things, differently, and to push back against this idea that there's sort of one way to talk, and as long as the audience can understand you and they know what you're saying, you don't have to be ashamed or worried about your accent. That is part of you as a public speaker. That's amazing. um, so that's my little my little bit about accents and dialects.